Hey, what's going down, savages? Welcome to episode 34 of This Savage Life. I am your host, Stéphane Paulin. My wife told me that I had to wait a little longer to do my intro because my voice sounds droggy. But now she's giving me a thumbs up saying that it's okay now. I'm halfway through my coffee, so maybe it helped a little bit. It's not that early. It's 9:12. Been up for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I'll admit, I do sleep a bit later now during these quarantine days. My sleep schedule is a bit fucked up. I go to bed a bit later. I get up a bit later. Who gives a shit? I ain't got nowhere to go. I'm stuck at home doing this, and I fucking love it. Hope everybody's well out there. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's healthy. It's not easy, but hang in there. This will be done before you know it. Hopefully, we can get back to living our normal lives. On today's episode, I'm joined by Suicide Jesus, Justin Turnbull. Justin is a independent pro wrestler from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I met Justin because he, like me, is a graduate of Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling Dojo. And from the first moment I met this guy, I fell in love with this guy. I just fucking love this guy. He's amazing. He's an amazing pro wrestler, champion. He's won titles here on the independent scene. He's just, I've been lucky enough to share the ring with him, and he just an amazing worker, an amazing person, and I just fucking love this guy. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode with Justin Turnbull.
3, 2, 1. We're live.
We're live.
Wait, are we allowed to do that? Joe Rogan's not going to kill us?
No, he's not. I think he's good.
Okay.
I think he's cool. I don't think if I'm lucky, he'll listen to my podcast, but I don't think so.
Oh, damn. No.
Oh, man. You know what? It feels good. I spoke to Mike earlier because I was like, yo, I haven't spoken to you. I've texted back and forth, but I'm like, I need to see your face. I need to like.
I miss all you guys.
Yeah, right? So I'm like, oh, let me call you. So I called him this afternoon. We had a chit chat, and I was like, wow, it's weird to say, but it's like, at first it felt awkward a little bit. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you get used to talking to people by text and not having that fucking connection in front of you.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, right?
I've never spoke to someone like this before.
Yeah, I'm not used to this either. Like, but this is the fourth or fifth podcast now that I record through Skype, because normally I try to get people at my house. So I'll like invite them at my office. I have 2 spots. Like I could do them live, right?
Yeah.
But when this all started, I'm like, this is a great opportunity for me to do more podcasts because, I'm at home. I'm not working. But fuck, I'm going to have to do them through Skype if I want to have guests. So I'm like, oh, let me try one. I tried one. Fucking worked good. I'm like, fuck it. Let's all do them like this. At least, plus I'm like, fuck, it feels so good to have a conversation, man.
Yeah, you need a connection.
Fuck, like, man.
We're dying for something, Now all these apps are coming out, and everyone just wants to see each other. This is the best we got right now.
But it's insane how just talking to someone is like I had Justin Newhook from Sabotage on last week, so we spoke, and I said one of the weird things that I miss about wrestling is hugging all the boys when I see them. Like every time we see each other, it's like big hugs, it's like, hey man, how are you? I said, I love my wife. I hug my wife, but it's not like I randomly just walk into the kitchen and just hug my wife and like, oh, I love you. Like
it's the touch.
Fuck, touch. Man. I like that interaction. Like we're so like, this is like for us, for some, it's like we still get to go to work. We still get to see certain people, but man, I've been around the same 4 people for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like I love my family and I enjoy it, But man, I miss, like, that's why every weekend I try to have a couple of like podcast books so I could have someone to talk with and like have some conversation about something else than this fucking corona. Obviously, a lot of the conversation rotates around that for a few minutes, but
Yeah.
it's like obviously if I have wrestlers on, we'll talk about wrestling, but even then I don't give a fuck where the conversation goes. I just want to have a fucking fun conversation, talk about anything that wherever the conversation goes.
That's what it is, though. We miss our second family, and that's what I gotta say is gotta be one of the most interesting things about pro wrestling compared to the real world. Is I find in the real world you're not gonna find the connection between guys like you will in pro wrestling. The connection that we have with our wrestling school, with guys that we meet, you know, from other provinces. When you guys meet up and you guys are on shows together, you know, that's your family. And I find the connection that you have with the boys and the girls, the boys and the girls, you know, the family of wrestling, the connection. But I want to talk mainly about the connection between the guys.
Yeah.
You don't have that connection out in the real world. I don't have friends or see guys out in the real world going up to each other, you know, hugging each other, you know, going and telling your guy friend that you love him.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen that or experienced that outside of pro wrestling. And I find the best relationships that I've had the last couple of years have all been with the boys from wrestling.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is really important. And a lot of guys and girls don't realize that, you know, guys need to start, you know, complimenting each other, be there for each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like hug each other, tell your buddy that you love him. And, you know, we have that connection with Mike, with Dawson, with everyone that's from the chamber, Gabriel, Mark, Kevin, all the guys. We're a bunch of guys that are constantly hugging each other, telling each other we love each other, telling each other you're beautiful, picking each other up.
Yeah.
We're never condescending towards each other. You know, a lot of groups that I've seen outside of wrestling, the way guys interact, it's, you know, just constantly putting each other down and making jokes about each other.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, the connection that you have with the guys in pro wrestling, it's unlike any connection or brothers or friendships that you could possibly have. And I find that's such an important thing that a lot of people might overlook.
Pro wrestling is like one of those things where it's an odd thing to pursue. It's not like, and like you said, there's nothing like professional wrestling. And I think, to add to your point, one of the reasons why there's that love and trust is that if me and you are in the ring together, and it happens a lot, right? You get a booking somewhere and you get to wrestle someone that you've never wrestled before. And a lot of the times you wrestle someone that not only have you never wrestled before, but that you've never met before. You don't even know this person, but you know they're a professional wrestler. And you get there and you have a match with this person, and automatically you just met and you already have to basically trust this person with, like, I know it sounds exaggerated, but basically with your life. You know what I mean? Because if this guy, I don't trust this guy, and he drops me on my head and he fucks my career up, like in an instant that could happen. And that connection of being,
after you've beat the shit out of each other, you are now have the most weirdest connection with that person.
Yes. And you don't have that anywhere else that I know of. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, go ahead.
No, it's like, I was explaining this, I forget to who, but like even before I did pro wrestling, I was into MMA, and the training, even though it's intense and it's almost every day and you're in the gym and you're beating the shit out of each other, it's nothing. It's similar. There's things that are similar, but like the pro wrestling aspect of like that trust, that love, that connection between people, it feels like it's a community instead of like being something else. Like I said, like when I did MMA, it was a lot of like, yeah, you have a coach, you have teammates, but at the end of the day, when you step into that cage or that ring, you're by yourself. You're against someone that's looking to kill you, and you're looking to do the same. And it's like you're in there by yourself. In pro wrestling, there's the wrestling aspect where you're in the ring, but it grows beyond just being in the ring and performing. It's that after, in the curtain, you hug. Like, how many times have you have a match, you kick the shit out of each other, right? For 10, 12, 15 minutes, hit each other hard, half concuss yourself. You get in the back, and then you sit
hugging.
Yes, but also you're sitting down, and for 45, 60 minutes, you're just shooting the shit with that same guy. 20 minutes about the match, but the rest of it is either he's imparting wisdom through his experience or vice versa. And it's like, what the fuck, man? It's just that. And then the show's over, you tear the ring down, and all that extra stuff, and it's all part of that same connection, of that same experience. It grows so far beyond just the act of wrestling. Like all the other sports, it's like once the game is over, a lot of the time that connection is completely over. You have a strong connection while you're doing the thing, but everything outside is completely different, right? But pro wrestling and pro wrestlers, they have that connection that grows so far beyond just the match itself or just the experience.
Exactly. That's exactly it. There's so many aspects to a show, so many, and it's like what you said. It's almost like you're a community. You're almost like a traveling road show, in a sense.
Yes.
You know, and everyone has their part, and everyone knows that they've got to be at the top of their game to have this show succeed. Whatever part that they're involved in, however big or small, it's like you said, it's a community thing, and you guys have to all band together. You guys are all getting together, working hard to put on a show, not for yourselves, but you're putting it on for the entertainment of however many people are there. Whether you've got a full house or whether you've got 20, 30 seats in there, it doesn't matter. There's just a connection between you guys that everyone is involved to put on one of the greatest spectacles that you could ever see, in my opinion. I mean, it has something for everyone. But yeah, for me, I think the most important thing that I would take away from the pro wrestling is the relationship I've gotten with my brothers from pro wrestling. It's that to me is by far the most important. I've never in my life have I seen so many guys have so much love for their guy friends, and it's so important, and not enough people show it, talk about it at all. And I think us as a group, we all, started training together and working hard together. But, us, the group from Torture Chamber, that's the connection that we got, us guys. That's something that, I'm going to cherish for forever.
It's insane to think that in such a short time, we're able to create these bonds in between each other. Because even though we've been at the same dojo, trained through the same school, like this connection we have right now, and like who I'm talking about, right? All those few guys that we're constantly in contact with and constantly share everything. It's so short-lived. Like if you really think about it, I've only been a wrestler for 4 years, right? And it's even shorter than that because that connection only started like a few months or a couple years ago. In such a short time where we're able to form one, I would say, with all my relationship, one, if not the strongest bond in a group of men and individuals, because, it's not all men, and to add to your point, when you said earlier, like you don't see it in other groups of guys, like sometimes you'll have groups of friends outside of wrestling and there's a lot of ribbing and a lot of putting down because of your insecurities or whatever the bullshit is. Do you think it has to do with the fact that as pro wrestlers, we all know there's something not that's, I wouldn't say quirky, but you know what I mean? Like it's hard to meet someone that's a pro wrestler that doesn't have something or a chip on its shoulder or something to prove or just a reason for doing pro wrestling. It's like we all have this like past, or not necessarily this past, but these attributes that make you pursue something that's completely crazy and out of the ordinary. And I think that we all understand that about each other. So when we truly meet one of each other, we're like, I'm just so happy that we get to respect each other and we get to share the same things and the same passion. It's kind of weird.
You get to create that moment that you've always, dreamed of as a kid. It's basically like what you said. When you get together with these people, you all have that common something between each other, and that's a love for pro wrestling. And most people either get made fun of for it, as a kid. I think a lot of people when they were younger as kids would possibly, would get made fun of for it.
Yeah.
Here you are later on and you're connecting with all of these people that all love pro wrestling. And then together you create that moment that you've only seen on TV. And just with these people, however weird or different they may be. And I'm sure you've felt it sometimes doing road trips and you're with the guys and the girls from wrestling and you're such an odd looking bunch of people.
I know.
And like people in the public are looking at you like,
it's so true.
Why are all of those people hanging out together? That makes no sense. Nowhere in the real world are those people actually hanging out together, going out to dinner or going here. It doesn't make sense. And so many times I see people look at like the group that I'm in and they're like, why, what the hell, But
especially when you're like 6, 7, 8 guys, right? You walk in the dep or somewhere at a gas station and you're like, whoa.
Exactly. But like, however weird or different every one of us may be, the fact that we all love pro wrestling and together we can create those moments for ourselves is what makes us that community, is what brings us all so interconnected and so, I guess, involved and so strong with each other.
Yeah. But that bond, it's crazy how that bond between pro wrestlers, like whatever friends or whatever people you share the most, like us and all of the people in our group and the people we share it with, that bond it's hard to be broken. Like it's like we instantly trust everything this group. We automatically assume that everyone in this group has like everyone's best intention. Like that's what they want for everybody immediately. And then you have one singular thing that you're all striving to be, and that's the best possible wrestler. And we constantly help each other out all the time. Like what other thing are you going to be in where you go in a ring, you perform, and then you go out back and a veteran, someone that you might have not even ever spoken to or just shaken hands with, comes up to you and goes, "Hey, I watch your match. Do you want my opinion on it?" And then you go, "Of course." And then they took time out of their, they took the time to watch your match and then to critique it so that not to like shit on you, but to make you better. So that the next time you go in that ring, you'll have that information. I've rarely seen that anywhere else because people are too self-involved and selfish in some weird way. And they want what's best for them, but not necessarily what's best for their teammate or whatever the case may be.
Well, that's right. I think all of us wrestlers understand that, like, the show isn't just about you.
And
so
and
you want
to
to
work together for the whole show, not just for yourself.
Exactly. Even if you don't share the ring with someone, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So why do you not want to work for a promotion or work on a show where everyone is at 100%, is at 110%? Yeah, you might have an interest on your own. Yes, everyone wants to be at the top. Everyone wants to main event. Everyone wants to be champion. But everyone needs to take time to help out everyone else on the show. You want to have a killer show. like I said, the show isn't just about you. You want every single match on that show to be incredible. You want the crowd to be like, you know what? Every single match was good.
Yeah.
Every single person has their part to play. And it only makes sense that a vet would want to help someone, to better someone, because who knows when that guy's going to come up and share the ring with him one day.
Yeah.
You know?
Isn't it funny also, and one thing that I kind of, it goes by so fast when you're in the business. Like I found myself going from being a trainee and not having any ring experience to all of a sudden, after one match, being a pro wrestler. And then you're thrown in the mix so fast, because you're from one day to the next, you're not a pro wrestler. You're just someone training to become one. And then the next day now you can call yourself a pro wrestler, right? Obviously you're not good because it's your first match, right?
Yeah.
But you're an independent pro wrestler. The thing that weirds me out a little bit is that I remember being 7 years old and seeing pro wrestling on television and falling in love with it almost automatically, and it becoming almost the only thing I would watch and play as a kid for a long time, and saying to my grandparents and to my mom, like, one day I hope I get to be a professional wrestler. I wish that I get to be one of those people in the ring one day on television. And then later on in life, I became that thing, and I never made the connection between that 7-year-old that wanted to be a pro, that dreamt about it for years, and that I actually put my mind to it and I accomplished that thing that a lot of people, right? A lot of people have dreams when they're kids, but they never materialize because they just don't put the energy and the time and the effort behind it. But I did, and I became that thing that I wanted to be when I was 7. That by itself, sometimes I stop and I think about it and I'm go, that's fucked up, but it's so awesome because it teaches my kids and it teaches anybody that see me and go, you know what? It is possible then. It's not that far-fetched, because when you were 7 or whenever you discovered wrestling, right? You remember watching it, you're like, wow, like it's going to take a 1 in a million chance for me to make it to be that guy. And then from one day to the next, you were that guy. And then I find like sometimes we don't stop and look back and go like, wow, even though I know I'm not where I want to be or need to be, and I still have a lot of work to do, man, I sure accomplished a lot of great things up to now. And I think we're really hard on ourselves that way. Like, I think a lot of us are, because we just want to be better constantly every day, every time we get in the ring.
For sure. I mean, like you said, you know, looking at wrestling and saying, you know, oh my God, I would dream of being a professional wrestler. Just dream about it. And when that's your dream, and that day you walk into the training and you're standing in front of that ring and you finally stand inside.
Yeah.
I felt like when I stood in front of that ring, my very first training, and I finally stepped foot into it, I felt like something clicked and I had this motivation like never before. Because I was able to look at myself and be like, I'm on the track. I'm on the track to my dream. And you said it. Almost no one actually materializes any of their dreams. They sort of just fall into place wherever they end up landing.
Yeah.
Just follow the crowd, and then that's it. And then they live like that. But that moment when I stepped foot into a ring, I was like, I'm on the course to living my dream. And then something just happened, and I don't know if it was like that for you, but like all of a sudden this like different motivation just took over. This work ethic just took over. And all of a sudden I just found myself working harder than like I've ever worked before. Just that realization, like I'm doing my dream. And very few people can say they do that.
You felt that when you felt that whatever connection or whatever that spark was when you stepped in that ring, that you knew that the commitment you had to give this thing wasn't going to be hard, right? That energy you would have to give yourself to commit to this was going to be, because for me it was weird because I saw an ad on Facebook from Torture that said try out this in a couple of Sundays, right? And I'm like, I just want to know what it feels like to be in a wrestling ring. The 7-year-old in me kicked in and go, wow, you remember when you used to dream? I had no thought about becoming a pro wrestler. I was in transition between mixed martial arts. I'd basically done my career. It was finished. And I was like, I need to find something else to occupy my time and energy. And I need to pursue something. I was lost. I didn't know what it was. And then I started rekindling my love with professional wrestling. Then I started introducing my son to independent wrestling, and I brought them to a couple of shows. This all led to me showing up at the dojo on a Sunday for a tryout. I paid my fee for the tryout, and I just wanted to know what it felt like to be in the ring and to do pro wrestling for a day. I went in.
You at least you stepped into an octagon, at least, you know.
Yeah.
Like I've played football, I played hockey, I played soccer. You know, I've been a top athlete. But when I stood in front of that wrestling ring, I swear, it was like I left my body, and like instead of seeing my normal body, I just saw like a little 5-year-old Justin standing in front of that ring. Like that's how I felt when I first saw the ring. I'd never been in an octagon or anything.
Yeah.
Never did some sort of fighting combat sport, you know? And when I stood in front of that ring, it was like I was 5-year-old Justin. And like when I was told, okay, get in the ring, I had to be told like 2 or 3 times because like I was like nervous. I almost didn't want to get into it.
Yeah.
I was utterly baffled that like, oh my God, I'm about to like step through the ropes. How many times have you like watched your favorite wrestler just step through the ropes or stand on the ropes? And like I've never felt so scared, anxious, and excited in my life standing in front of a ring.
Did you take a bump the first day you were in the ring?
I took probably over 100.
Yeah, I took 150 bumps the first Sunday. We did all from the progression, right? From the sitting down position to the kneel down position, to the holding the ropes, to the actual bump, right? And I remember that first bump, it was like, oh my God, like this sucks, but I want, please more, please. Now I need to know how to do this right. Like if I could get this right, this might be fun.
Like I've done way too much jackass shit as a kid, filming it with my friends. Like I already knew how to sort of fall and roll, protect myself because I've put myself in way too many stupid situations. But like you said, when you take that first bump, I was like, yeah, it's gonna hurt. Like whatever, I'm ready for it. And then I took that bump, and like, you know, your neck is not prepared for what your body does when you slap that mat. Like now, like our necks are strengthened. We understand, tuck our chin when we're about to, you know, slam our backs. But like that first bump, you're like, oh, I could do it easy peasy. And you whip back, and the back of my head just hit the fucking ring mat. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw everyone get up right away. And I was like, oh shit, I got to get up right away. And I was like, this is okay. Now I'm ready. And I went home after that first practice, and I was like, I cannot believe I can't move. I cannot move.
Yeah, your neck was jacked up, right?
Oh my God. It was terrible.
Me too.
Terrible.
My neck was jacked up for a couple of days, but I remember the exact feeling when I took that first bump. It was like a shock through my body. It was like the minute I hit the mat, it was like this jolt of like, there's pain. It feels weird, but it's not like I had never fallen before like you. Like I played a lot of sports. I played hockey, basketball, baseball, all of that. And I'm a fucking kid. Like I've fallen on my back before, right? It's just that you're doing it voluntarily. Obviously, you know, you have to take your own bumps. That's the number one rule when you fucking get in a rest. Take your own bumps.
Yeah.
You're doing this voluntarily, and then when you do it more and more, it's like it's second nature now, right? You're like
I
bump,
find when I
bump,
was when I
bump.
was first taking bumps, I was just like picturing every wrestler I'd ever seen. Like I'm pretending I'm every wrestler and I'm just taking bumps. And I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. Or I'd do like JR calls in my head, like during training sessions. Oh man. That's what I would do. I was every time those first couple bumps, I was like, oh my God, I feel like this wrestler take a bump. I feel like this wrestler take a bump.
It's and then you have your first match, and then you really get or you get, obviously there's practice and everything, but like you obviously take bumps and do like shines and stuff in practice, but in that first match when you take your first bump and you have to like feed back up obviously early in the match, right? And you're like, holy shit, now this shit's for real. Now I have to put all of this together. That
I did everything I wasn't supposed to do in my first match.
Who was your first match?
James Stone.
As for a torture show,
It was for NCW.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Yeah, NCW against James Stone, and I had a little bit of a guideline and some rules to follow for my first match. You know, don't do any flips. Don't do anything you haven't tried. Basically, keep it simple. Yeah. Do everything that you've already learned. Keep to that, and you'll be fine. I did everything that I hadn't even practiced at all. And I just remember Drew before the match was like, all right, be safe, don't kill yourself, and have fun. And, he watched backstage through the curtain. He's here's a new rookie and watching his first match. And I went out and did everything he told me not to do. I was diving over the top ropes. I was taking bumps into the guardrail. I chopped the veteran. I was doing everything that I wasn't supposed to do. And I was having a blast because in my head, I'm like, this is it. This is my match. I know that I could probably survive a dive over the top rope. I'm not afraid to do it. But, I'm just going over the guidance of your trainer, over your instructor. He's teaching you certain things, wants you to execute them a certain way, practice what you've learned. And I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I did the complete opposite. I knew I could do it. I knew I could handle it. And James knew that he could handle it as well. So we went out there, and I thought we killed it. Great first match. And I remember getting backstage, and Drew was so happy. He was like, that match was so incredible. I cannot believe it. What a great first match. I'm going to kill you, though. He goes, you did everything I told you not to do. What was this taking bumps into the guardrail and taking dives over the top rope? And I was like, I'm sorry, sir. It's just I had to do it. This was my moment. This was my moment. And I think he knew from that moment that, like, okay, this kid is going to go, and he's going to go fast, and he's going to go hard. And
you set a precedent on your first match, fuck.
Well, exactly. I wanted to leave a good impression, and no one got hurt. It was done safely, and I think I showed that I was at another level, that I was willing to go to the next level. That it's like, you know what, I'm doing this, and I'm gonna do it all the way. Like I need all the training I could get, and I need to do and learn everything that I can, and that's what I wanted to accomplish off of my first match.
How many months of training before you had your first match?
So I was nervous. I could have wrestled 3 months into training. The only reason I didn't was because I told Drew that I wasn't ready. I was like, I don't feel ready. I can't wrestle, because I was so scared. I was so nervous. But it wasn't up to me. When your trainer thinks that you're ready or knows that you're ready, you're ready. And however scared you may be, that's something that you're going to have to overcome. And so I was told to go get my boots, go get my gear, go get everything ready. And I kept pushing it off. And I started to notice that I wasn't getting the same attention, because I kind of felt like I was giving off the vibe that I didn't really care, that I didn't really want it. So I missed an opportunity to wrestle. It was a very tiny show, but a show is a show. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I missed that show. And I think Drew came up to me one day and was like, listen, I have a show for you. Go get your shit. And I was like, oh, you know what? He's right. I went and I got my gear, and it was probably 7 or 8 months into training. But if I was not an idiot, I could have got my gear earlier. Then I probably would have had my first match 3 months into training.
And what was it that you felt that you weren't ready? Was it just like ability wise, or was just like the crowd, or what was it?
I think I just have a really bad habit of, I can't stand not being good at something. I'm so competitive at whatever it is I do. I don't care what it is. I want to be better than everyone else at it. So oftentimes I may stay away from things that I know I won't be good at. So maybe I might not try anything new per se, but like I didn't feel confident enough in myself that I could pull it off 100% and feel confident about it and feel good about it. I think that was my main issue.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm almost glad I started when I did, because, I also kind of think things happen for a reason, Yeah. What would have my career have been like if I did wrestle my first 3 months in? What path would my career have taken if I had my gear and I would have started taking bookings earlier than I did? Maybe I would have branched off and done something else, or maybe I wouldn't have become the wrestler that I am today. Things happen for a reason. I was always a little upset that I started training late. I started training at like 25, and I'd always be like, man, I started too late. It's like, fuck, like I was almost pissed about it. Yeah. But I think, no, I like where I am. I like the things I've accomplished. I could tell people that I've won championship belts. I could tell people that I've traveled and wrestled in different countries like Spain and Ireland. I've left my province. I've left my country. I've wrestled places. I've won belts. My God, I just lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about before?
I asked what was the main reason. You're saying it's because you were afraid to, you want to be good at something, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I was saying I like where my career is at now. I like the wrestler that I am, the character, the things that my moves, everything about it, I enjoy it. I really like it. And then I sometimes think, what if I had started when I was younger? I wouldn't be the wrestler that I am right now.
No.
100% I wouldn't. I would be something completely different, because I would have looked even more like a child. I'm a small guy already. If I had started when I was like 18, I would have been a kid. I would have just got beat up, made fun of, had shitty gimmicks. It wouldn't be the same. Starting at the age I did now, might be a little bit late, but also I find things are never too late.
No.
And I like where I am at now. And, sometimes I look back, maybe I should have started when I was younger, but I wouldn't be where I am now. And I think where I am now is pretty damn good.
That's good. I mean, it's hard, right? Because I remember like basically being told, like, look, you're going to train, and Drew is like, I'll tell you when I think you're ready, like I'm not going to enforce that on you. Like you make your own decision and everything. And I just put my trust in him, because it was something that I was giving myself like 12 months to see where this was going. Right. I was 33 years old, 34. And I was like, I ain't young. I ain't getting any younger. I've put my body through 10 plus years of mixed martial arts. My body was already not, in the best shape. And I was like, let me see where this takes me. So it was like when I was told, I always do things spontaneously a lot of the time, so I don't get to enjoy those little aspects sometimes. It was like one day he was just like, come to the gym, we're having a shooting for a TV taping or like a dojo show. And then I just showed up. He's like, oh, by the way, you're wrestling me tonight. And then I was just having my first match. And then a couple months later, I was having my real first match in front of a crowd. But like that, it was always like, well, you tell me I'm ready. He's like, yeah, I think you're ready. I'm like, all right, if you think I'm ready, obviously I know it's not going to be perfect. I just need to trust whoever I'm going to be in the ring with. I was lucky it was him, but I think like you, everything happens for a reason, right? Because a part of me wants to say like, man, I wish I would have walked into that dojo when I was 25 instead of 33, right? But then I was like, well, that means that I wouldn't have gotten all the experience I got from martial arts, because martial arts at all. If I met Drew if I got into pro wrestling before martial arts, I would have quit a couple months in. I wasn't dedicated. I wasn't disciplined enough before martial arts. I was just living life like like from one thing to the next. I wasn't constant with anything. I wasn't putting any work behind anything. And it's not until I discovered martial arts that it really taught me that, oh shit, if you want something, you're going to have to work for this motherfucker. Like, it's not going to come easy, and you can't expect people to just keep handing you shit all your life. And once I started like chipping away at that mentality through that discipline and through all these 10, 12 years, and then I was like, oh, now I have the tools necessary to see this through. So It wasn't never a question. The moment I committed myself and I paid my dues and I'm like, I'm a student now, teach me, I was committed, and I was going to do and sacrifice all the time needed to do it as efficient as possible and not take 2-3 years. But I was also I also went in it with like, I know nothing about pro wrestling, teach me. And then when I was told I was ready, it was like, okay. And now I'm obviously, I've been in the business for a few years now, so you get to be a bit more comfortable and a bit more confident in your decision making.
Yeah.
But it's I think that like if I did this early on in my life, it wouldn't have worked out like it worked out right now. And I'm not saying like I'm like supposed to be where I'm at, but it's the journey I chose, and I don't think I would have had the tools to make it in this business if I had made this decision when I was like 23, 24, 25. That's my story, my journey, and it's different for everybody, right?
No, I think the one thing that I liked the most was that I felt I was lacking was when I wasn't playing sports anymore. I was lacking that team, that like the practices, the coach, the coaching authority, just whipping all the boys in shape to get ready. You're a team. You guys you're trying to win something, accomplish something. I was lacking that. I no longer had that for a few years. And once I joined the wrestling school, that was exactly what I was missing for those few years. I don't know. I like the way the school's run.
Yeah. Very disciplined, very it's very very to the point, right? It's like Drew will teach you, and then he'll teach you the best possible way so that he wants to make sure you're ready when you step through those ropes and have your first match and have your other matches, right? He wants, and I think it's a thing with the Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling Dojo is that even when I started, like by being trained there, you kind of get a head start in how people. Well, I remember at first people would talk and show you a different kind of respect because you were from that school or you were trained by someone that was known in the business, and they knew, like, oh, if that's a Drew guy, he's gonna know a little. He's bound to know a few things early on in his career,
Yeah.
And we went in there and I don't want to be an ass, but we're the last of we're like a dying breed, right? This generation of like just doing everything necessary that needs to be done in order to accomplish certain things, no matter how much it's gonna suck. Doesn't matter how long, right? I feel like there's obviously generation changes after generations. It's different for everybody and how they were raised and how things are they decide things. But man, if I look at us guys, there's a few of us when we're like, fuck. And I look around and I look at the wrestlers that are really hot right now. It's all the same mindset. It's that singular, like, fuck, I'm going to just run through this wall as fast as I can and as hard as I can so I can make it so I can break through.
Yeah, that's we're coming off like the tail end of like the most like intense like blue collar workers. Like we're just tough as nails and we're gonna work till our fingers bleed. Whereas I find the younger generation is just, I want it and I want it now. Yeah. It's instant gratification. And that's what's harder with the younger kids.
I don't know about what drives you and what part of Justin makes it that you want to be, or that you want to be a pro wrestler, but that you actually want to be great at something. I know for me, there's a chip on my shoulder, so I have something to prove for different reasons. One main one, but it's who I am, right? It's like I constantly have to prove to myself, number one, and then prove to other people, like, yo, like I'm not this piece of shit, like, and it's weird because I don't think anybody sees me like that, but I see myself like that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I have that chip on my shoulder to go like, motherfucker, you're tired. Come on, push yourself a bit more. Yeah, it hurts. Fuck it. Stop complaining. Like that drive, that. I think it also has to do with how we were parented. And I think for myself, I know for me, I was left to learn a lot of things by myself in life. It was figure it out. And I did. And sometimes it took a long time for me to figure certain things, aspects of life. And it's unfortunate, but it's part of my journey. But sometimes now I enjoy figuring shit out. I enjoy taking the long route to somewhere because I know that if I do it myself and I figured it out myself, I'm going to, on the way there, learn these new tools that's going to help me along my journey later on in life. I'm going to get better at figuring shit out. And I think we share certain things like this on this last generation, right? It's like we go, fuck, man, like just fucking do it. Figure it out and just think about the consequences after. Just fucking put your head down and just drive, man. Just fucking drive.
Yeah, no, for me, it's got to be like, my dad is Spanish, and he's the smallest guy I know, but he was my coach in hockey, soccer, and you know, he was an elite coach, and he made us believe that we were the most elite athletes, and I've never seen someone with such a drive. Someone so tiny could just be so tough, so strong, so intense. Like I've never seen like such a small guy just rough people around, getting the soccer ball off them, getting the puck off of them. He made me believe it didn't matter how small you were. The only thing that mattered was how big your heart was. Yeah. And being my coach for all those years, bringing us to this elite level, as much problems as we had at home, when we stepped out to the soccer field or the hockey rink, like things were just different. And I may have just been like, oh, my dad is such a pain in the ass, or I hate him for this, I hate him for that. But I look back at like how he had coached me and how he was that authority figure. He helped like make like the monster that I am. Yeah. Like how and why I will go out there to kill myself in training, to show you that I will be quicker than you, stronger than you, anything. He built that into me.
When did that kick in? Did it kick in automatic, like early on in life, or did it take a while for it to kick in?
No, I think I paid attention to it right away because I had difficulties, at home. We couldn't really get along at home. But once we got onto the field, it was just like the only thing we thought about was the sport. The only thing we thought about was the game. Every bit of our focus was on that. And so everything that he coached me and taught me and, and showed me while playing the sports, being my coach, I listened to those like so intensely because he was going out there. He wasn't just saying it. He was going out there onto the field and proving it, everything that he was trying to say and show us. So I was like, my God, like he's got to be right. And I just listened to that from a very early age. So when it came to, sports or anything, I turned everything into a competition. Everything. It didn't matter what it was.
From a young age, you did that. And so you became super competitive. It's weird, right? Because you meet these people that are super competitive, like the really competitive ones. And you look at the best athletes in the world, like the top athletes to ever do it, like the Michael Jordan and all those guys, the Kobe Bryant. Everybody will tell you they're the most competitive person they've ever met in your life. They'll never stop until they're better than you or better than everybody. You have to have that driver.
Not in a mean way.
No.
Just like a very nice competitive way. It's just that's just how I am.
Yeah. If it's mean, it's mean towards yourself, right? Because you never allow yourself. Yeah. And you never allow yourself to be. Sometimes it's hard, right? Because I'm also like that. A lot less as I grow older and I became a parent because I don't know why. It's certain things change you, I guess. But I was like that too. Like if I wasn't the best at something, even if it was just with my friends or just it would hurt. It would be like, fuck, I hate this feeling. I hate this feeling that guy got the best of me today, or that guy got the best of me, or that team got the best of me. God damn, I hate it. And it doesn't affect me as much now, but yeah, I have never met someone successful in any athletic endeavor that wasn't super, super competitive. You have to be, because at the end of the day, you're competing with yourself, right? It's who you were yesterday. Now I need to be better today. And then I need to be better tomorrow. And then I need to be better the day after. And it's a constant pursuit. And you're never satisfied, right? So you'll never stop. You'll never fucking stop.
Never.
You're gonna do this thing till the wheels fall fuck off, and you'll be like,
exactly.
Yep. Yeah, man. That it's one of the things that automatically draw. Like when I met you, I was automatically drawn to you. For that, you ooze that personality of like, oh, you're gonna do this till the wheels fall off, and you're gonna give it everything in every single match. The first time I saw you wrestle, I was like, oh, that motherfucker goes fast, he goes hard, and it's gonna be like that every single match. So when I got the opportunity to wrestle you, I was like, oh, shit, because I'm like that, too. Like, dude, you got to go hard and you can't worry about anything but just fucking pedal to the metal. Wheels fall off. We're done now. But right now, I have all four wheels on and they're still rolling. I still got to go. I still got juice.
And we had two like-minded people going out, and we accomplished exactly what we set out to do. That was definitely one of my more favorite matches by far.
It's one of those matches where I can actually watch and go, okay, I'm very critical of myself, but because the match is so good, I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like, that's a good one for the where we are in our career, where I am in my career. That was a fucking great match, and I'm extremely happy about that match. It's weird though, because I've had matches with guys before. Like I've had two matches with Mike, both in my opinion were garbage. We can't get that connection. It's weird. You
think it's gonna work and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
You can't mold together.
Yeah. It's weird, man. Even Dom, I had a match with Dom, and I feel like we have an opportunity to have really good matches. But that match could have, obviously I'm very hard on myself, but it was, we had an opportunity to do something a lot better, in my opinion. But it's just weird. Sometimes you click, sometimes you don't. Like, Like Pat Gannett, like we've wrestled each other now a couple of times, and me and him, we're starting to click. There's just that it's similar. It's like you, like we oh yeah, you're gonna hit me. All right, no problem. We're gonna hit each other. That's gonna be fucking fun, right? And I like that understanding sometimes. Like that first forearm or that first punch, and you're like, oh shit, this is how it's gonna be, and then boom, then you're in it, and now you're having fucking fun, right?
Exactly, and I felt that was what was different about our match. Obviously, it does help when you're closer to the person you're wrestling.
Yeah,
it might be a little bit more difficult to have that perfect connection the first time you wrestle someone. But I didn't feel like you and me were going through something that we had planned. It wasn't like a robotic match where it's like, okay, here is exactly what we're going to do. We knew what we were going to do, but it felt different when we were out there. Like, I felt like we were doing all the little things, the little details that a real pro's going to look for. We were able to think of them and enjoy those moments. Whereas we're not just robotically going through moves. We were putting each other in the moves and understanding everything about it, being able to enjoy the moment, the reaction from each move. And that's what made the match feel different. And that's what made the outcome of that match so different and so good.
I think that one of the things is that we weren't looking up to the next spot. We were just working the moment, the spot right now, and we were in that moment, and we were enjoying being there, and we weren't worried about what the next spot was. I find that a lot of the times in wrestling, especially when you start, you're constantly looking what's next during your match. So you're not in the moment. You're not worried about what you're doing right now. You're only worried about what you're about to do next. And I find when you watch a match, especially now because I've done it for a certain amount of time, when I watch a match, I could tell the wrestler that's looking forward to the next spot and the guy that's actually just worried about the spot. Yeah. And if I look at our match, we got quickly into that zone where we were just about the spot and trying to tell the story for those few seconds to get the fans' attention. And then we would be like, oh yeah, what's the next spot? Oh yeah. Boom, boom, boom. And then we were into the next spot. And then we were working that next spot. And we're able to bring the crowd along with us. I feel like people sometimes they don't realize that they kind of have to drag the crowd. Like, yeah, you can get the crowd for one spot, but if you don't bring them into the next spot, they're going to die in that other spot. And they're not going to pay attention after that spot because you didn't do a good enough job in that transition or to bring them along in the storyline. It's something that's missing a lot in wrestling there. It's just spot, and they're not looking to tell the storyline with along the way,
That's what a lot of wrestling is becoming. It's who can have the craziest spot. That's what wrestling is slowly becoming just the focus on. Who has the craziest spot or who has the craziest sequence? But are you going to watch a match just for that one split moment? Like, okay, cool. Yes, it's entertaining. It's a cool spot, whatever it may be. But that's the only moment that you have in that match. Let's say that match is a 10-12 minute match. And, that wrestler is only going to do that one spot. That's no fun. No, that's not what a wrestling match should be. That a wrestling match should be an actual story of two guys fighting it out. Good guy, bad guy. I know it sounds, cheesy, but that's exactly what it is. A good match will tell you a story with the wrestling moves, not just one crazy spot where a guy nearly breaks his neck.
Yeah. I feel like the art of pro wrestling is being able to put all the spots in a match together, obviously to tell the story, but if you have 12 spots in the match, spot number 3 and spot number 11 have to be connected in a way, even though they're not one after the other and there's 6, 7, 8 spots in between. It still kind of has to be connected in some sort of fucked up way because it like you're telling a story from the moment the bell rings to the moment it rings again, and it's like you kind of have to confine all that storytelling, and if you're able to do it right, dude, I've seen myself watch matches where you're like, I have no expectations, and it's always the matches that I don't have any expectations where I'm like, now I see why I enjoy this match, because I didn't have expectations. It'll start one win, I'll be like, oh, that's not how I would have started that match. Let's see where it brings me. And then the minute I tell myself that when I watch a wrestling match, 12 minutes later, I'm like, oh shit, I've been paying attention for 12 minutes. And then I'm like, that was a fucking good match. Well, a lot of the times if I have expectations and those expectations aren't met in the first 30 seconds, I grab my phone and then I'm lost. I don't pay attention to the rest of the match. It's weird. And that's just coming from someone that's in the business that does professional wrestling. Like, I pay attention to different things when I watch wrestling matches. It's not like my wife or my son that just watches it for like the sheer aspect of it. I'm like very like, oh, look what he did here. Look what he did there.
It.
Yeah.
You're almost like meticulously picking it apart. You're like, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're trying to understand why they're doing certain things. And then you find the mistakes. And then you're like, ooh, I got to remember that. Gotta avoid that.
What was the thing that surprised you the most that when you started professional wrestling? What was the aspect of professional wrestling that you thought either you would hate and you love, or that you thought you would love and you just don't enjoy? Is there an aspect of professional wrestling you don't enjoy?
Driving to shows.
Really?
I just don't like driving, though.
Because a lot of the times you drive alone, right? Because you work later and stuff like that, right? It's a different experience
just the driving
for you.
to the show. Mainly because I hate the actual act of driving.
Yeah. If you're in a car that with someone else driving, is it different for you?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. Right? Because you get to enjoy and release yourself. You don't have the same worries, right?
Exactly. I like the time spent getting to the show. When you got a carpool with a couple of guys, that's where you have the most fun, all kinds of jokes. But like, I just don't want to actually drive. I can't say there's anything that I dislike. Yeah. I thought I would get teased or bullied a lot more.
Okay.
For being super small, for being tiny, for being the smallest guy in the locker room. I don't know why I had that in my mind. I just automatically assumed that like it's a big man's world, there's all like monsters, all these guys who are like 6 feet and taller, and then in comes Justin, and I'm the whopping 5'7", 5'8" that I am. I thought there'd be a little bit more like maybe like bullying towards me, or but like honestly nothing at all.
It's interesting.
That's just maybe because I'm a small guy. I've always been picked on for being the small guy, But for me, it's just the actual driving to the show that I dislike the most.
Yeah. It's hard because there's so many different aspects to professional wrestling, and I find myself to liking most of them. But there's an aspect that I found myself having a hard time adapting to, and because probably I come from a fighting background, right? So it's like I went from punching and kicking and trying to kill each other for real to trying to make this look as real as possible, but by not making it real, right?
Not take the guy's head off.
Yeah. And at first I was having, because you go from one spectrum to, and then you kind of like, you try so hard to not hurt the other person that you kind of go to the, like at first I would throw a punch and it would be like, dude, like you got to throw a real punch. But I was so afraid at first because I was like, if I throw a real punch, I might kill you or I might hurt you. Like I'm used to trying to connect with someone, and now I'm trying not to connect with someone. It's a weird thing to have to worry about, but once you realize like, oh, maybe if I did it like this, and then I found certain ways to adapt certain strikes where I could be like, it doesn't matter if it lands like it's supposed to land. Like either I'll incorporate more chops because I can actually chop someone, and actually make the noise instead of making my punches look shitty or my kicks look shitty, I found it was I expected it to be an easier transition, and at first it caught me off guard a little bit because it took me a lot longer to get accustomed to pro wrestling, the the physicality of pro wrestling is very different than the physicality of martial arts.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I put my body through way more physical bumps and just hits and contact in pro wrestling that I did in MMA, even though I got punched in the head and stuff. But a lot of the time you're spending yourself on your feet, not hitting or not on the ground, obviously not slamming each other and not jumping and falling, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So pro wrestling's physical attributes, man, I think everybody knows it's hard on the body, but how really it affects someone differently, obviously, because we're not built all the same. But fuck, man, that was a weird transition for me, I thought, at first.
Yeah, definitely. That's I can't even imagine what that must be like, having to go from 100% to like, 25, we'll say 25.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Strike.
It's once I got the point where I'm like, okay, instead of trying to tone it down, I'm going to trying to adapt a different style to make it look more realistic. Then I started working my way towards that, and then it became easy. Obviously, I got good coaching and stuff, and I asked a lot of questions. I pay attention too. You think it's important? Obviously, everybody's going to say yes, but watching the matches sometimes, and I think it's a reason why me and you had a good first match is because I've seen you wrestle so many times. I know what to expect when you're in that ring, right? I not necessarily know all your moveset, but I know what speed you function, how hard you go, and how much. I also know what kind of reaction you're going to get from that crowd. And that won't catch me off guard. It won't catch me off guard that you're going to get a pop because you're fucking Justin Suicide Jesus. You're that guy that goes all out and gets the crowd all pumped up. Doesn't matter if you're face or heel. I was able to foresee all those things. I didn't have to worry about that thing. I'm like, I know how that guy goes. I'm going to go the same speed and we're going to have a great fucking match. Right. And I didn't worry about trying to outdo you because I knew you were going to try to outdo me also. I think that's also important. Right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you try to outdo each other just like, that guy could go, but I'm going to show this fucking guy I can go too. And then you get lost in there. Right. You're like, ugh, that was shit.
Yeah.
But when you don't have to worry about that aspect, when you go like, we're just going to go, that guy is exciting to have a good match as am I. And there's no worry about it. There's certain connections. I have that connection with Wes Dawson as well. Me and Dawson will always put together good fucking matches because he understands his role when we have a match and I understand mine. And that's also important as well, right?
Like I said, everyone has their part.
You enjoy being a heel or a face more?
I mean, I guess I always wanted to be heel. And I was immediately put face, obviously, because I'm so small. So I immediately get put into the underdog category. So I was face for a while, and I tried to go heel. I was finally allowed to go heel. And I was trying everything I could to try and be heel. And when I first came out, I got the reaction. I can't remember exactly what it was I did. I think I turned on someone. I think I turned on my ex-partner. And so I initially got that bad reaction, like, oh my God, what an asshole. But like, no matter what I tried to do to be heel, it felt like they didn't really want to hate me.
Yeah.
And so we keep going, next show after show. And, half the people that know the storyline, they're hating me. They're doing their job hating me. But the other people that don't necessarily know what the storyline is, or they're not there every show, they're just there to watch. They see me and they're like, oh, wow, that guy's entertaining. We like him. But they may not understand that I'm the bad guy. So you got the regular crowd that are booing me, that hate my guts. And then the other half of the crowd doesn't understand why I'm getting booed, but they like me. And so we went a couple months, close to a year, of trying to be heel. But it just felt like every time I would come up with a new idea, like, oh, they're going to hate this, or this is so heel, the crowd just ate it up. And so finally, after about a year of trying to be heel, we sat down and decided, hey, like this isn't working. Like
Yeah.
you just need to go back to being face. And so, I mean, I kind of enjoyed my time as being heel, but it just wasn't working as well as I thought it could. So, I mean, I would have to say I like being face more. It works.
Yeah.
It's just what works for me.
You
I
get
don't
more of
think
a reaction out of being face for sure.
exactly. I don't think people want to necessarily hate me, no matter
Yeah.
how much I tried. I think it's just I don't know. It's something about me. I don't understand it. I can't tell you what the people think, but it's just we tried to make me heel and it just doesn't work.
There's a few guys like that. It's hard. You just, like you said, there's for whatever reason, it's just hard. It's hard because as a face, like I've been a face basically from the beginning, right? I tried playing a heel a few times, but it was very short lived, and for the most part, it's a face. I found that I had a hard time getting over as a face. I think it's harder a bit, right, as a face to be able to get that reaction. You could get the cheap boos when you're a heel, right? I find certain people cut corners. If you can get away with a lot more being a heel to get that reaction. Being a face is like, dude, you gotta mold that character into something that people are going to not necessarily just want to clap for, but they want to go like, oh, they want to attach themselves to your character, to your persona for a reason, right? It's not necessarily just about getting you're the good guy beating up the bad guy. They want to go like, why am I intrigued in this person, and why do I want to be like him, or whatever reason, right? That I find is easier than just finding something that is going to make someone hate you or boo you. You got to kind of work at that connection with the audience and constantly fight for the right reason. Fighting back as a face, always constantly showing fire, which you do. That's why I think it's one of the big parts of why people love you so much and cheer for you so much, is that you're constantly showing fight. You're constantly showing fire, no matter your size, your stature, you're constantly fighting back, and people are like, fuck this guy. Yeah, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. They want to get behind you, right? Wanting to get behind you, the people is what not only to cheer when you're doing something, but to cheer you on as you're getting there.
Yeah.
Is for a face one of the things that you have to pay attention to. Now, just don't look just for those great move. You got the bad guy. It's come on, man, you can do it. I'm getting behind you. I'm putting my energy because I want you to feel like you have a part in you screaming for me and trying to help me on and win, that connection.
And I didn't know how to do that. And I still don't know how to do it. I can't even explain what it is, what goes through my mind when I go out there. I don't know what it is exactly I try to accomplish. It's just I go out there and I just do whatever happens. Like I'm not like sitting there and thinking exactly what movements I'm going to do before the wrestling or in between the wrestling.
Yeah.
It's just,
you're reactive, right? You react to the energy in the moment.
Exactly. And I didn't like being face. It's like, I don't want to be that Hulk Hogan, looking for it. Like, I need your power.
Asking the crowd for it,
Exactly. I feel like that's every wrestler's go-to reaction when they're like planning a match or talking around with people. That's like the motion they go to. That's the go-to because it worked for so many years for him. But like when it comes down to it and you're told you're supposed to be a face and get that crowd reaction, what's the first thing you think of? 9 times out of 10, someone's going to say Hulk Hogan reaching for the crowd and and I didn't want to do that. And I don't know how to accomplish it otherwise. And now, I try and watch these faces, and they all have the same thing in common. It's they look to the crowd and point and they're like, yeah, for you. Oh yeah. Come on, guys. Like, that's not me. That's not me. So if that's not me, how am I going to portray that if I don't believe that? If I don't believe in it myself, I'm not going to be able to convince someone else. you know. So I
If
just
you think
decided
it's a
to go my
tacky
own
way
way.
to get the pop, if you think it's a corny or tacky way to get the pop, that's going to be transparent. That
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't believe in the way of you getting that crowd, right, or getting that reaction. You know what I started paying attention to is because I started noticing this. Great heels, because a lot of the pro wrestlers, even the greatest heels, go through a stretch of being a face, right? It's a lot of those great heels. I try to look at them when they went through their stretch of being a face and what made them great at being a face, even though they're a natural heel, like the Ric Flair, like the Triple H, like all those guys that they're just natural heels, but they went through a part in their career where they were a face and they were big as a face. They got certain crowd reactions. I kind of see how do they do it, because they'll never do it like that. They'll never do it the mechanical, the cookie cutter way. They'll do it other way. They'll do it like just by like being that maverick that either I'll break the law, it doesn't matter, like Stone Cold. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck if I'm good or I'm bad. I'm here to drink some beer and kick some ass, and that's what I'm gonna do. And the crowd just got behind it, and he was like, "Holy shit!" And then that was it. It was like he was being himself, and the crowd just got behind that. But it's something you constantly have to be aware and work at, as a face. And I fell in love with that process. The point of my story was that I fell in love with. At first, I didn't enjoy that. I wanted to be a heel. I was like, fuck, I wish I could be a heel. Man, I feel like I'd be a good fucking heel. Like, I have that smug look. I have a face that people want to punch all the time. Like, I feel like I have that look. And then slowly but surely, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually enjoying this fucking crowds in this moment. And now I have kids looking up to me. And that also went, okay, now I'm starting to enjoy this. And now I want to work and get better at this. The moment I went from just, I wish I was a heel, to the moment of, well, you know what? Fuck no, let me start being better at this, is when I actually started enjoying being a face. Because every little reaction, I was like, oh, that's a step forward. That's a step forward. I need to remember this. That's a step forward. Oh, that's a step back. Not do that anymore.
Yeah, when you get that reaction, it also makes me like sit in that person's place for a split second. Like, how good you feel being entertained by that, like, by that favorite wrestler of yours, by that face, by the good guy. How good you felt giving that reaction, and he notices and interacts with you.
Yeah.
I felt remembering what that was like helps you interact as a face towards the crowd.
Yeah. To go back to what you said earlier, like, I have the same feeling as you, like as much as you want to prepare for your match, right? You're in the back, you're preparing. Sometimes you get to talk to your opponent. Some of us don't, but most of us do, right? We'll do like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Doing this, blah, 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 blah. But the minute that fucking music hits, all these things that I keep saying, okay, don't forget, you got to do this. Don't forget don't forget this part. And it's not match. I'm not thinking about spots in the match. I'm thinking about the little in between, right? If there's a hard cam, don't forget the hard cam. Don't forget the rope. Don't forget like all these little things. But then the minute my song hits, it's like, oh shit, I become this persona, and this persona doesn't need to think about all that. That persona just fucking reacts on the spot. And every match I just end up going, I never thought I would react that way, and then I just reacted that way. And I'm like, I guess that's how I was meant to react. If this happened to the street, that's how I would have reacted probably. That's how I see it.
It's like I was saying, like you can maybe try and plan what you'll do in between the wrestling.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go out there, like you're going off of just instinct.
Yeah.
And I feel when you're going off your instinct, it's more genuine. And when it's more genuine, it's more believable.
I find that when you try stopping to make everything perfect, even those little in-between reaction is when everything becomes more transparent and more believable. Is when you try to make them so perfect that if they are so perfect that it looks fabricated. It looks like it was you guys practiced it. When you realize that those like instant reactions, they're like, ooh, that it doesn't look pretty, but fuck, you know what? It wasn't meant to look pretty. That's what makes it more valuable in that moment, right? Yeah. That's what I find sometimes. Because sometimes I'll look at matches and I'm like, oh, that was a good match. But not everything went according to plan, but it fell together, and it was a beautiful thing, and we created magic, and we set a story, and it works out, you know. I feel like the less you try to do certain things, the more impulsive and more reactive you are in the ring, the better storytelling and the better matches you can put together. It's a weird fucking thing because you can't let that go, because you want to be so prepared because you don't want to look like a fucking fool out there. You want to be like as prepared as possible because you don't want to shit the bed. There's nothing worse than a feeling that when you walk out back and you're like, oh my God, that was horseshit. You're like, that was doo-doo in a can. Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah, man.
I think about those matches for hours after I'm in bed, and I'm like, oh. For that feeling and that feeling alone, sometimes I feel like we want to over-prepare just because you don't want it happening so often.
Yeah. No, I feel it. Anytime you have an off match, you just sit in bed. Just why?
How many years has it been now for you? 6 years?
6, 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You find you're in a good spot? Physically, mentally?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Physically, I'm good. Mentally, I'm good. I need to get out there more.
Yeah. That's
really it.
It's messed up, right? Because it's an independent business, right? At the end of the day, we're not signed to any contract. We're at the end of the day, especially nowadays with social media, you get to you're kind of like in charge of most of what happens to you, even though there's politics in pro wrestling. Mind over matter, right? If you believe it and you say fuck that shit, I'm gonna post that shit, I'm gonna do that shit, I'm gonna put myself over that shit, I want people to notice me. You do that shit, you do all these things sometimes that you think are good or not, you just try, and then one day it clicks and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm so happy I did that, I'm so happy I went here, I'm so happy I did there. It's like, but like anything, you want to put yourself out there as much as possible so that one day someone sees you and you're like, hey, I was at your match and I'm interested in signing you or this and that, man. It's, whew.
No, you never know.
You find yourself having a hard time explaining to people why you do this sometimes?
I don't have a hard time explaining it. They just don't care to understand it.
True.
I have no problem explaining it or, giving my side of the story as to why this is what I chose or why this is, what I love. It's just most of the time people just won't care to listen to the full story.
Yeah.
That's my problem about it.
Most of those people have zero connection with professional wrestling, right?
Well, that's it.
Right.
They know exactly what everyone else knows that doesn't understand or has learned pro wrestling. They just think that it's a fake man soap opera.
Yeah. Or they just don't have any perspective of it at all because they've never watched it, right? So they
that's it. They just go off of what everyone says. Oh, it's just like a man soap opera and it's fake fighting. So, and that's everyone's opinion of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you could change their opinion, Do
you see pro wrestling as an art?
100%.
Right?
100%. It's got every aspect of art. It's got multiple aspects of it. There's, you could say it's like a violent ballet. You could say that, there's acting, there's improv, there's fighting, there's storylines, there's so many things artistically that get put into the show. Everything about it is an art form. It's
messed up because I saw it. At first I didn't used to see pro wrestling even as a fan when I was younger. Even when I started, I didn't necessarily see it as an art. It wasn't until I discovered that, oh shit, like this is an art and I'm an artist. And I never saw myself as an artist. I knew I was, but I couldn't understand why I was, because you kind of have that like that preconceived notion that, oh, if you're an artist, you could either paint, you're either good at drawing, it's like, or your music, or you're doing something. Like, the moment I realized that pro wrestling was an art is when I was like, that's how artistically I can express myself. I could do it through pro wrestling. I could tell a story. I could act. I could do all those things that you just said. And once I kind of put those things together, and it's when it all made sense for me, you know, like that, the reason why you put a match together and pursue this thing, it's weird it's not weird. It's beautiful in a weird kind of way, but it's like, it's art at the end of the day. You're being artistic every time you step on into that ring, you know?
Yeah, man, for sure.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, man, my phone's gonna die.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, we've been doing this for over counting the other one for a while, man. I appreciate.
I think almost 3 hours.
Yeah, man. Look, man, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, man.
Oh, anytime.
Fuck, man, I miss so much, like, just the camaraderie of pro wrestling and everything, and just talking to you guys. Like, the fact that I got to speak to you today, it makes me like, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna go now, sit on the couch, and I'm gonna go enjoy my rest of my night. But it's gonna be like, man, that was fun. And I'm not going to think about the conversation. I'm just going to be happy with, like, I got to share a fucking nice conversation with someone. And then I'm going to share it to people that are going to go, man, that was a great fucking conversation. Hopefully.
They will.
Man, I love you, man. I hope I get to see you face to face.
I'm glad we got to do this.
Man, I'm really happy we got to do this, man. And thanks again. Be safe, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you, man.
I love you too, man. Take care.
Take it easy.
Cheers.
Well, that's it for episode 34. I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Justin Turnbull. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to This Savage Life, available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Also, I load up all the podcasts on my YouTube page. Check it out, Savage Paulson on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to that as well, so you don't miss another episode of This Savage Life. I appreciate the fuck out of you if you've taken the time to subscribe already and share and talked about This Savage Life. I really appreciate everything. Until next time, much love.